Hello, hello. What's up? What's up? It is a new day, it is a new week, and it's time to get social. My name is Kavana, and welcome to the Introverts Social Hour. Ever feel like there aren't enough hours in the day? Same. Whether you're juggling work, side projects, or just trying to keep life organized, Passion Planner is the perfect tool to help you prioritize what matters, make time for yourself, and live with intention. I've been using Passion Planner since my freshman year of college, and to this day, it still helps me map out my goals while keeping life a little less chaotic. It's more than just a planner, it's a space to reflect, refocus, and take control of your time. Whether you're a bullet journal pro or just starting your planner journey, there's truly a passion planner for everyone. I especially love the weekly medium size Sunday start, but if you're a Monday start lover, I am not judging you and I love that for you. You have so many options. Go ahead and get 10% off at passionplanner.com using my code KAVANA27. Once again, that's my code KAVANA27 to get 10% off at passionplanner.com. Join the Pash fam today and start planning with a purpose. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Introvert Social Hour. My name is Kavana and we are here to talk about no skip musicals today. And yes, I said we. I'm so excited. I am bringing on one of my dance friends, Felicia, a talented human being. Let me just hype Felicia up for a second before we really hop into this episode. Felicia is a New York City based writer, content creator, and a guest contributor to NBC News Now, with her writing featured in publications such as AV Club, IndieWire, Teen Vogue, and Time Out New York. Between her podcast, so go ahead and check it out. It's called Call and Response, which explores the intersection of Blackness and performing arts, and being an on camera host and moderator. Felicia has interviewed top theatrical and television talent, including Lin Manuel Miranda, Audra McDonald, Sex Lives of College Girls, Aaliyah Chanel Scott, and the principal cast of The Gilded Age. So I'm not, go check out the rest of the bio. I'm going to cut it there. But I just want to say, Felicia is that girl. So welcome, Felicia, to this episode. I'm so excited to have you.
Happy to be here and thank you for being my hype woman today.
Yes. No, of course. No, seriously. I because we follow each other already. So it's just so exciting to be like, oh my gosh, what's she doing next? Ah, this is so cool. Like you just do cool things. So
You do cool things over here with your thousands of TikTok followers.
stop. No.
No, true story, listeners. A girl in our dance class, our workshop this year, just we were like getting ready to rehearse, and she looks at Kivana and she goes, "You're famous on TikTok, right?" And Kivana's like, "Followers," and I go, "She had like 20,000, I think, something like that."
Not yet. I'm almost there. But yeah, I'm almost there though. If you round up,
Just
yes.
shy of, yeah. We rounded up today.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, but seriously, she was like, you're famous. I was I don't know if I would say that.
No,
Um
it's big time.
LOL. No, I still have this fear of like someone noticing me that I don't know, and they're like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, "Ah, don't you?"
Uh-huh. Yes.
Usually, it's been the opposite so far, so that's pretty nice. People who know me and they're like, "Hey, wait, I saw you on TikTok." I'm like, "Yes, you
Right.
did." That's okay because I know you.
That's so funny. I love it. I can't wait for that moment when you get recognized on the street.
I'm be stressed. The introvert social hour. Remember that.
Right.
So,
True. Very true. Very
yes,
true.
I try to remind people. I'm like, what you get is what you're not gonna get in public. It just pure honesty there.
Yes.
um but I'm so excited to go into this. Speaking of actually TikTok, this is why this
Right.
podcast episode came up, because I asked the question and this, like, it blew up more than I thought it would. I was That's usually the case when it comes to, you never know what's going to pop off. And I
Yeah.
asked, what is a no skin musical? And I said, okay, just letting you know right now, you can't mention Hamilton. I just said, because I already knew that was going to be an immediate answer for a lot of people. I
Right.
love Hamilton. I put Hamilton on my list too. But some people
Mhm.
actually disagree with that. But then a lot of people listed a whole bunch of musicals that they considered no skip. And when I tell you, it felt like they listed basically all of Broadway at that point.
Yeah. Well, because the theater girlies, they have I'm not saying
Yes.
we have opinions for
Hmm.
sure. I'm
For
sure there were
sure.
lots of answers.
And yes, they stood by all of them. And, and we're gonna talk about them. We're
I
gonna
can't
talk
wait.
about
Let's
some.
dive in.
But I do wanna ask you though, what do you think makes an album like no skip, like a musical album?
That's a good question. I mean, it's it's quite literally one you will not skip a track, right?
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
think there are maybe subcategories because
Ooh, okay.
I think as someone who's been in theater a long time and has loved musical theater for a long time, there are shows that I have like emotional, sentimental attachments to. So maybe someone would listen to it and be like, "You listen to this all the way through." I'm like, "Hell yeah," because I have
Mm,
memories associated with it.
yeah.
And then there are albums that you don't skip a track because you want to hear every song, like because it feels like a cohesive, like pop album almost.
Mhm.
So that's my definition.
Okay, I'll take that. That makes sense because that was something that we're gonna talk about a little bit deeper too. Was like I said, some people were listening to them, and I was like, "Girl, that is that's not no skip." But it's like no, they were like, "I've listened to this ever since I was a kid." And I was like, "Okay, so it's no skip for you because it has a sentimental value." Okay, I get
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so I'm very curious of like what our no skips look like. And then if we took our head out of like the sentimental aspect part, like what can we consider to be cohesive?
That's fair. It's gonna be hard, but it's fair.
Yes. From a journalist critique standpoint, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I am curious to know too, what's the last musical you listened to all the way through as of recently?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. I'm gonna have to look at my Spotify because,
For sure.
just to plug, we obviously met through Ailey and the
Mhm.
jazz workshop specifically, but I also did the Broadway one this year with Matthew Johnson Harris, who's
Yes.
amazing.
Shout
So
out.
I've been listening to those 3 songs we did in our medley, so I'm like, "What is the last album?"
Mm.
I mean, not an album, but I know off the top of my head I did watch Hairspray recently.
Okay.
So I it wasn't the album, but I did watch the movie all the way through. Oh,
Mhm.
I listened to Last 5 Years, which I consider a
Oh,
no skip album.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I'm
Okay.
I'm so excited to see Adrian and Nick in
I
this.
was just about to ask you. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have my ticket secured yet, but I'm going to be
Yes.
sat in that theater. But I was introduced through the movie, so I watched the movie, like, soundtrack version versus the off-Broadway cast albums that have
Mhm.
been released. Um, and I guess I was just reading about them or something about this new production. I was like, "You know what? Let me give it a listen. It's been a minute." And
Yeah.
I love that album. So that was the last one.
Okay. No, that's good to know. I'm very intrigued in regards to what they're gonna do with the one that's coming up on like Broadway stage as a revival.
Me too.
Um because I've only had experience with the movie version with Jeremy Jordan and Anna Kendrick.
Yeah.
I will say that is an album I'm going to have to listen to again because it didn't stick with me. But I always
Okay.
think of like Goodbye Until Tomorrow. That one is pretty fire. That's a good one. That's a good song.
Yeah. I mean, I love the whole album, but
Mhm.
I think the one I go to the most is "I Can Do Better Than That," which is
Mm.
one of Kathy's songs towards the end of the album. It's like the second, if you're listening, if people don't know Last 5 Years, it's gonna be hard to explain. But like if you're listening
Yeah.
from the end of the album, right, which is the beginning of Kathy, the relationship for Kathy, it's the second song. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But it's towards the end of the album because it's like the backwards nature of
Yeah.
the album. Should I explain Last 5 Years? I'm like, if you don't know the musical, it's so confusing.
Well, I'm assuming that whoever's hopping in, they're a musical lover.
Okay.
Yeah,
And if not, go Google it.
unless they want those musical recs, then we don't wanna spoil anything anyways.
Oh, you're right, you're right.
So
Mhm.
then, yeah, we'll give them the general gist.
General gist. Yes.
Um, so I do wanna kinda move in then. So let's talk about this. Before you give me yours, I'm gonna give you what
Mhm.
TikTok said, the top 5 that TikTok
Okay.
mentioned, and I wanna know your thoughts
Ooh.
on that. Yeah. And I know I gave you a pre-idea already. Nothing's
Right.
changed since then.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go in reverse. Top 5. Number
Okay.
5, Jesus Christ Superstar. Number
Mhm.
4, Great Comet. I know there's a whole it's a whole name. I actually just started I know, I'm so sorry. I just started listening to it because I actually think for me as a I didn't hop into musicals until like later on in my like
Gotcha.
teenage years. I think that actually got overshadowed by Hamilton. So I
Probably.
was not aware of this musical until like recently. And so I'm going to but I've started listening to it.
Okay.
Um Third is Little Shop, and then
Okay.
second is Spring Awakening, first Legally Blonde. What are your thoughts? Go. The floor is yours.
Lord. I actually, yeah, I know. I don't know Jesus Christ Superstar very well. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I don't know.
Mhm,
I feel like when entered the musical theater scene, there's some old school musicals, I'll call them, that I love, but I feel like that was one that I just kind of missed.
mhm.
Um, you said Great Comet after that?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. I like Great Comet. I saw it a few times,
Oh,
on the
nice.
Broadway. Danae Benton,
Mhm,
Chef's Kiss as Natasha. To me, it reminds me of another musical that I'm gonna bring up, where
mhm.
it's, like, sung all the way through or it's, like, you know what I mean? It's, like, you wouldn't
Yeah.
stop it because there's a through line, right?
Mhm.
I like the music. It's not my go-to, but I understand why people would want it to be a no skip, and, let me say, it had a passionate following. I was at Playbill when it opened, so on the social media, people were, like, going hard for it all the time. I think it
Hey.
opened in late 2016, so it makes sense that Hamilton kind of overshadowed it for you, but, yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's a great album, and I'll also say for it really expanded, I think, the idea of what musical theater could be.
I definitely hear that for sure. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and then you said Little Shop. Little Shop's a
Mhm.
classic,
It is.
and I didn't grow up with that one either, but I think just A Howard Ashman, Alan Menken, if y'all don't know, listening to the podcast, are, of course, responsible for so many Disney favorites from the Disney Renaissance. So
Mhm.
and they just have
Seriously.
such an ear for, like, catchy, earwormy melodies and lyrics.
Mhm.
So I would say that would be a no skip for me. I don't listen to it a lot, but it would be a no skip.
Okay.
And then Spring Awakening is my top no skip. And
Hey,
if
okay.
if you ask me my top 5 favorite musicals of all time, it wouldn't actually probably be in the top 5, but album-wise, if we're talking just the listening experience,
Mm. Okay.
it's top for me.
Nice.
Um, because of, like, what we were saying earlier with our definition,
Mhm.
it's like a pop album to me, or it's more like indie folk rock, like, in terms of its, vibe, but,
Yeah.
to me, it's like a singular album. That's
No,
just I have no sentimental attachment, it's just, like, it's a good album, so, definitely
okay, that
agree with
makes
TikTok
sense.
on that one, and now TikTok's gonna kill me
Uh-oh, here we
because
go.
Legally Blonde is just I don't dislike it, but I do not have the same hype that everyone else does for it.
Yeah. It was number 1 as far as most mentioned.
My friends get and so TikTok, I will receive the hate because my friends get mad at me, they always wanna watch the YouTube, recording of
The
it when they
slime
MTV.
tutorial.
Oh, yeah, excuse me, the slime tutorial. They're like they love it, and I'm always just like,
Mhm.
I guess it just isn't for me. Art is subjective, people.
Yeah. No, we're allowed to have thoughts. Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, no, I pretty much agree with you, to be honest. I think for me, Jesus Christ Superstar has more of a sentimental connection for me. So I would did it in college, when I did musical
Oh, okay.
theater. So for me, I'm like I was listening to it like all the time. Like
Yeah,
I was a
yeah,
part of ensemble, so but then it stuck to me and I actually did go back and listen to it to be like, maybe let me take my sentimental out of it for a second. I was like,
yeah.
actually though, I would
Still
still give it
hits?
to them. Yeah.
Okay,
Not like you said, not a musical I'm going to play often, but if someone played it, I would let it just keep going.
okay.
Um
If it's on the aux in the car, you're like, "I'll let it rock."
Right, yeah, and the
Okay.
songs will yeah, I feel like, now for me, it's not always, like, a vibe when it comes to, like, Andrew Lloyd Webber stuff, but, like, that one is like, fire. Like, he really
Okay.
changed the tunes and stuff, like, he got some rock up in there I really love, um, I don't know, it's just fun and funky, it's
Yeah,
different,
yeah.
and that's why I'm surprised that I ended up liking it because I remember when I found out I was like, "What is Jesus Christ Superstar?" I had no
Sure,
idea.
sure.
Um, great comment, like I said, I'm getting into the sound, I, 100% agree, I understand why people like it. I don't think I would 100% be as deep in as people are. I would like to see it visually to understand everything as well.
Yes, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah, but it definitely sounds interesting, like, I'm intrigued. Um,
Mhm.
Little Shop, I have yet to see it in person. I can understand that as well.
Yeah.
Spring Awakening, I will say, it gets I know, it
Da-da-da-da.
gets a little shaky for me. I don't know if I could call it a no skip for me, but I could also understand where you come from in regards to just playing it. So
You're so
there's some
kind.
good songs on there. Yeah.
Wait, do you know which song was "And" for you? I'm just curious.
So here's the thing.
She's like,
If
"I need to
I
listen to it."
right, if I if I can't give you if I've listened to the album and I've played it and I'm like, I only got a few up on there,
Mm.
so it's
Mm.
majorly skipping for me. I know.
Okay, you know what?
I
Again,
know.
art is subjective. This is a safe
Yes.
space.
Okay. We listen and we don't. That is what we're
Exactly.
doing.
Yes.
But then in same regard though, I agree with you. Legally Blonde, I gave myself a re-listen. I was like, you know what? Let me listen. My friend, like her, Legally Blonde, that's her jam. Like she loves
Yeah.
Legally Blonde. And I was
Mhm.
re-listening. I was like, I don't know. I can't be there with you.
Yeah,
But once again, can understand where people are at. It kind of gives me the vibes of Mean Girls a bit, like the Mean Girls musical.
definitely,
Very similar
definitely.
vibes, but for me, not everything is catchy. Like immediately, second song in, I can't remember what the song is titled. It's with her and her boyfriend before like when he's breaking up, he's about to break up with her.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, I don't like it. It's something about like the melody or like just the
Okay.
flow. I
Mhm.
just don't like I didn't like the flow for some songs. It was very like I'm in and then I'm out.
Yeah, totally hear you. I know, and I feel like there's, like, funny moments, like, everyone was obsessed with the Courtney take your break moment for a while,
Hmm.
and so I get what you're saying of, like, it just doesn't fully, like, hit, but there could be some
Yeah.
moments.
Mhm.
I wanted to confirm, the woman who wrote, the music and lyrics for Legally Blonde also worked on Mean Girls, Nell Benjamin. She wrote the lyrics
Oh,
for
did
Mean Girls,
she?
so yeah,
Hey, look at
look
that.
at
Okay,
you
she has
making
a
connections.
sound. I heard
Yes,
it. I was like,
yes.
this sound okay. Bad. Look at me.
Mhm.
Wait, no, that's so cool. That makes sense though. Yeah, the sounds are
And I
very similar.
They are, yeah, she worked with, Lawrence O'Keefe on Legally Blonde for the music and lyrics, and then Tina
Mm,
Fey's husband, who I apologize, I don't can't think of his name,
mm.
Jeff Richmond did the music,
Ah,
and then so she did the lyrics for Mean Girls. So, yeah, she probably
gotcha.
sprinkled her little influences in there.
Yeah. Okay. Bet. I like
Mhm,
that. That makes sense. Um. Okay. And I am curious, actually. In regards to those, before we go into our specific ones,
mhm.
um, do you think like genre and style of music has a play in the
Mm,
chance of it being no skip? I know it does for
yeah,
me personally. I don't know generally though.
this is
I
a great question. Um, these are all great questions. I guess I don't I have to
it's
I
a
really
hard
have to
one.
think on this. It is hard
Yeah.
because even the top 5 you just gave, I mean, they came
Mhm.
from TikTok, but they all have different sounds. Spring Awakening to me is different than Legally Blonde, which is different than
Yeah.
Little Shop.
Mhm.
So, I guess no. I think
Mm.
and this is kinda going back to the definition and stuff too, like, to add on to that, it's like there's the categories I think of a great comet or spoiler, this is what I was gonna bring up, the Who's Tommy, where if it's, like,
Mhm.
sung all the way through or it has, like, such a like, Hades Town is another great example where there's such a through storyline that, like Fun Home is another one. If you
Mhm.
skip, you miss something,
Yeah.
not sonically, I guess, necessarily, but, like, it would feel abrupt to change because it's
Story.
going so smoothly.
Mhm.
Yeah, sometimes the sound, sometimes the story. Um, and so that I mean, I guess I'm saying that to say, like, with those where it's sung all the way through, I don't wanna interrupt the flow. But then something like Little Shop or Spring Awakening, those aren't necessarily connected track to track to track, and they just
Mhm.
sound cohesive maybe genre-wise within themselves. Maybe that's it? But I
Mm.
don't think there's a particular genre that makes a no skip album over another
Got you. Okay. I
at
like
this
that.
moment in time. We
Yeah.
may have to do a follow-up.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think Another popular one that was mentioned was, for example, like & Juliet, but I felt like that was like a low key cheat code because it's like jukebox. So like for
Yes.
me, when people mention jukebox ones, I'm like, well, of course, like you chose like really popular songs.
Right.
So yeah, um,
That's a great
but
question, though. I mean, I that's just from my perspective right now. I think I yeah, I mean, and yeah, I don't think it matters.
mhm,
I guess
yeah, yeah,
I'm
no,
still
I'll
I'm
take
still
that.
like chewing on that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, for me, I would say it does personally though, just because I know
Okay.
I'm very contemporary when it comes to musicals. So that's why, like, when I actually ended up liking Jesus Christ Superstar, I was surprised because that's not my like. I'm usually very like now, like last ten,
Sure.
15 years or so, depending. More like
Yeah.
all 2000s and later. So things
Gotcha.
before usually don't stick with me.
Mhm.
Um, but no, it works. But usually, if it's something very like, for example, like falsettos, still have yet to listen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Like,
my fave
people
personally,
no,
but
you're
I get
good.
it.
No, yeah, people like us all these, like, really, like, I guess, labeled classics that people talk about, Chorus Line, things like that, where I'm like, is that 2000s or is that, like I don't even know, but I guess I'm more 2010s than maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah.
That's where
I
I'm
no,
at.
entry points to musical theater I do think affected a lot. Like,
Mhm.
I really was like a Disney kid and that was my entry, but my mom, she was
Same.
like a very I mean, right, if you're like a millennial, I feel like Disney was like so part of your world.
Yes. Mhm.
Um, the Brandy Cinderella actually was probably the first one
Icon
because that's
it
it's
really
iconic and it was Rodgers and
yes.
Hammerstein, but it was
That's
like
so
presented in
good.
such a relatable way. And I remember the first time I heard the score, the Rodgers and Hammerstein score,
Mhm.
not in that movie. I was like, "Where are the R&B orchestrations
Mhm.
here, people? Where are, like, the beats, the rhythms?" Like,
Seriously.
My Own Little Corner sounds so much better when Brandy sings it, like,
Mhm.
like, the smooth '90s jazz vibe.
Yeah.
But I say that to say, my mom was and my grandma were very into, like, movie musicals of the '40s, '50s, '60s, like Mary Poppins, Sound of
Mm.
Music.
Mhm.
So, I kinda got that, but then I didn't really get into musical theater proper until later in my life. So it was like Rent, it was Chicago because those movie musicals were coming out when I was growing up. So I think it does depend when someone gets into musical theater of what they love, and then maybe they'll go back and do research, but not necessarily, which I think is okay. I think is okay. Like when I was at Playbill, I feel like there were people, old school people who were like just loved Evita and Jesus Christ Superstar and A Chorus Line and all that stuff from the '70s, which is great and like laid the foundation and were so important to the canon. But they would make fun of people who only liked Rent and Beyond, or only liked Hamilton, or only liked whatever it was that was in the 2000s, 2010s. And I'm like, that's not really fair. You have to let each generation have the musical that hooks them in.
Yeah, and there's, like, development too, like, sounds change, like, what's in kinda changes, things like that, so
Yeah.
100%. Um, okay, let's go in then. I gotta know. I gotta know. Um, we talked about a tweeny bit, but we didn't really, like, go in. So, what are your absolute no-skip musicals?
So I made like a whole ass list. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Oh, you have a whole list. I'm thinking you
I
had,
made
like,
a whole
top
list.
5. Okay,
Not
bet.
so I will not like go into each so crazily, but I would like to read the names just to give
Yes,
them their due,
please.
and then if we want to discuss certain ones.
Imma write down. Let's go. Let's go. I got
Okay.
you.
And these aren't in necessarily a particular order.
Okay.
Spring Awakening, we
Mhm.
discussed. I see it as a pop album. Actually, let me just read the list. We'll go in. So Spring
Okay.
Awakening, The Last 5 Years, as previously discussed.
Mhm.
Ragtime, The Sound of Music, A Chorus Line, Chicago, The Who's Tommy, Rent. This one's gonna be a bit of a curveball, and people are gonna be like, "What?
Uh-oh.
Cats?" I
Oh,
love, I love
Felicia.
cats. I unironically
Oh,
love it.
that was nowhere near in my mind. Okay, we're gonna talk about that. Yep.
I can't wait. Put an asterisk by that. Bright Star.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. Now these two, actually, I'll skip those and come back. Fiddler on the Roof, Mary Poppins, Mamma Mia, Beauty and the Beast, and Once on This Island, which we had mentioned once. Like I
Mhm,
do enjoy that. I don't know if it necessarily would have been at the top of my mind, but I do love that album. And then the two that I haven't listened to in a minute, but I do enjoy and I wanted to give a shout out to is Hedwig and the Angry Inch and
mhm.
Fun Home.
Ooh, okay.
I don't even know how many that was, but shout out
It was a
to
lot.
them.
It was a lot, yeah. I wrote down some, and that wasn't even everything, and I think I had already hit over 10. Yeah, I definitely
Listen,
did.
it's the whole subject that I could get
Tru
into, but yes.
Seriously, a true theater girl, a true theater girl. So let's go in. I have so many questions.
Let's.
Okay,
Yes.
based off of what you're telling me, I have a theory that Sound of Music is sentimental. Would you also say it is, like, constructive-wise, like, when you're really looking at it? Bet, like, I'm in.
I guess it does have a sentimental aspect like that. I was introduced to it when I was young by my mom,
Mhm.
but I was looking at all the albums to review, and I was like, "You know what? Looking at it, there isn't one that I just like for sentimental value and would be like, oh, I'll just let it
Mm,
play." It's like each one I would enjoy listening to as it came up.
got you.
So it's
Bet.
kind of in both.
Yeah. Nice. So if you wanna hear a fun fact real quick, I
Mhm.
actually have not experienced. I didn't experience Sound of Music until last year.
How was that for you?
It was okay. First, like, I was like, "Wait, this is actually kinda cute. I actually kinda like it." Because it was so funny 'cause I grew up in that period where ABC Family would just, like, play things on loop, and
Yes.
I might see her running in the grass a few times or something like that with the kids, but I never had watched it in totality, and if I had watched
Gotcha.
pieces, I definitely didn't remember because it was, like, such a long time ago, and so I didn't know the storyline, so when I watched it, I said, "Oh, snap,"
Wow. Yeah,
and
we
I
get into
didn't.
a lot.
Right, like, it's a whole musical. They have an act and everything. Act 1, act 2, I did not know.
Yeah.
Like, their OG musical movie situation. But no, I
Mhm.
liked it. I think in order to confirm, I would have to listen to it without visually seeing it. I think that's also a true test. Like,
Right.
do I need the visuals in order to appreciate it, or can I just listen to it by itself? I think for
Yes.
me, I can't answer yes or no for no skip on that one because of that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I've listened to it on a road trip, which is like almost such a random choice, but it felt right in
No,
the moment.
seriously. Yeah.
So yeah, I give it a listen without watching the movie. I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, for sure. I'm make sure make sure I listen to it and see what's up. Um,
Yes.
okay, I must know. I'm just gonna ask you. Cats, question mark.
I know a lot of people have that written down right now, and probably when I said it, we're like, we don't trust her opinion anymore. Um, Cats. Well, I'll just say my
Mhm,
background because it's not even sentimental. My mom and I went
mhm,
to go see it on tour when I was growing up in Portland, Oregon,
mhm.
and it completely blew my mind. I was like, who had the idea that cats had secret lives and would go hang out and like have this whole little hierarchy? My mind was
Right.
blown. And I'm not an animal person. I specifically cats growing up. I got scratched by one, so I was very like anti-cat growing up,
Mm,
but it just blew my mind. So I was like, "Mom, I gotta get the Cast album." I was like, we went to I can't even remember the name of. There used to be CD stores, people,
yeah.
and Sam Goody, is that what it was? I can't even remember the
Ooh,
name,
see,
something
I
like
don't
that.
know. Yeah.
Anyway, but I was like, we need to find it. Couldn't find it. Went to another store. Couldn't find it. And we finally found it at this like secondhand bookstore. And
Hey,
I was
nice.
like so excited because
Mhm,
I do love Andrew Lloyd Webber's music. I know that it's not for everyone, but there's something about the minor chords that are very haunting to me that like stick with me. And so
mm,
I wanted that again.
yeah.
Um, and because there's a through story, I guess it is an example of like being sung through all the way. I'm like, every cat, I need to hear their story while I'm here. I can't skip
Mhm.
one. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. No, no, that I mean, hey, listen, I Cats has had such an interesting history. You
Yes,
know, I must know, how did you feel about the movie? Did you watch the movie?
I did. I did watch the
Okay.
movie with my mom. We went on
Mhm.
Christmas
Okay.
and it was rough.
Okay.
And we went home and watched the VHS of the like what I think they filmed the London cast or the Broadway
Okay.
cast in the 80s.
Mhm.
And so we watched that just
To
to
feel
kind of
better.
cleanse the palate.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I just had to know, cause some people, they're like, "No, I'm Cats fan. I'm all in." So, but I know there were also Cats fans who were like, "What is this?" So,
Yeah, I have creative questions for the makers, but you know
oh,
what? It's
yes, for
also
sure.
so like making art is no joke. So I'm like,
Hmm. They did their
good
best.
job. You did exactly, exactly.
Right. No, seriously, at this point.
And I will
um,
say I got to see a production of it this summer at the PAC in Lower Manhattan, and
mhm,
Jalen Livingston co-directed it
mhm,
with I think the artistic director of PAC, and it set cats at
mhm.
a like drag ballroom ball,
Ooh,
like in Harlem,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
And each cat was a category, and there was a cat walk, and each
Uh,
person who
nice.
walked it like embodied not that they were a cat, but they embodied the character of the cat, right? Like it translated to
Gotcha.
this person, and it was so good.
Ooh, that it's so funny because I actually heard about that. And I
Yeah.
just never got a chance to go before it had finished. Because someone else I
Yeah.
know, when I was teaching, he taught theater, and he was like, "You got to go check Cats out. You got to go check Cats out." And so that makes sense. See, so
Aw.
I'm glad you brought that
And
up because I totally forgot about.
I
I never got to see that.
yeah. I hope it gets a Broadway transfer. There were rumblings, but I haven't heard anything recently.
Okay, yeah, we shall see. You know what? Real side conversation, real quick. Of what I've noticed
Mhm.
is, um, there are certain shows that sometimes could do really well, but I don't know if Broadway would take it, and that's what's always really interesting about that. I feel like that would be one of them.
Mm.
I've always had
Mhm.
that mindset because I don't know. Yeah, have you ever had a chance to watch Kiss My Aztec? By
No.
no, okay, so
John
it.
Leguizamo, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So it started off at La Jolla Playhouse, and that's why I was able to see it because I was going to school in San Diego. Um, and
Gotcha.
then it like what was it 2022? Yeah, 2022 ended up, coming back up again, and then it ended up being in Connecticut. I forgot the theater.
Mm.
And there was inklings about it potentially coming around, and it just never hit.
Mm.
But it was very much like it's very much one of those shows where they like is the Broadway audience ready for?
Right. Ugh,
And
and that is
that's the
a
thing.
whole podcast episode.
That is. It is. It is indeed.
Like, yeah.
Man, oh man, yes. But speaking of, like being prepared and what that audience is looking for, I must know more
Uh-oh,
about your
you
take. Oh,
you
did I
you froze
freeze?
for a second. Say it again?
Oh,
Sorry.
no, you're good. I'll
Yeah,
mark that down.
but
Let
you're
me
back.
mark that. Okay, awesome. Um, I must know more about where your strong standing. So if you were like, this is no skip for sure.
Right, right.
This is
That's a
where I
good way to
stand.
whittle
If
it
you gave me
down.
two, yeah, two, I'll give you two of them.
Oh!
Yeah, I know. To really
So
dive
during
deep on.
yeah, so during Text Freak Awakening the last 5 years, I'll take those out.
Hmm.
Sunday music, blah, 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 blah. Jeez Louise. Okay. I'm gonna talk about that's such a teacher thing. That was so good, and I'm, like, very stressed now. Um,
Good.
I'm trying to think of different genres. I'll talk about Chicago.
Okay.
Um, that I saw that movie musical, I think that came out when I was in 4th grade,
Hmm.
and I was totally entranced. Maybe that was kind of, like, one of my entry points into musical theater, honestly, like, true musical theater beyond Disney, and it's set in the jazz age, right? So you have so much jazz, iconic vamps that I feel like,
Yeah.
are riffed and parodied everywhere in pop culture. And so yeah, I listened to the movie soundtrack versus like the Broadway cast albums. I think there's two out. Because I was introduced through the movie first. But it's just you can't beat a Candor and Ebb score. They're so good. And um it's kind of like we were saying Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, like they just write catchy melodies that stick in your head. And that, I mean, ever since I heard it, I feel like it was stuck in my head. So I used to like even imagine, I don't know what this says about me, but I used to imagine like me and my friends performing it. Like in my head, I would listen to it and be like, this is where Katie comes in and does this. And then I will be Velma and I'll do that. Like
A
I just
director.
loved the music. She's a director, maybe? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what I'll say about that. I think it feels very pure of the time, like very dramaturgically correct of the 1920s, but it's just it's so fun, and I love it.
I okay, here's the thing, don't come for me. I have yet to
Safe
experience
space.
Chicago all the way,
That's okay.
okay? I
The movie
eventually
or on
will
stage or
entirely.
anything? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I've only got bits and pieces, because in high school we performed a few songs from Chicago, a few songs from Cabaret. It was like a mixture of like different jazz musicals, and we had like a "They Had It Coming" that one, and we know
Yes.
that's the song I feel like that you always see in regards to Chicago,
Mhm.
but like that's I can't give a lot more after that. I know people tell me it's good. It just feels like one of those things because it had passed you, like you got to put a little bit more energy to go back to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I hear
all.
you.
But I'm gonna get
No,
to it.
that's okay. It's okay. It's a part of that 1970s crew because that's when it originally came out. So it's like, I actually it wasn't well received. Or no, that's the Cabaret. They
Hmm.
wrote Cabaret, and I don't think that was well received when it first came out. But then
Yeah,
it like
probably.
exploded. I don't know. Anyways, but so when you dive in, there's so much to learn, so much to find.
Yes,
Um,
I am very excited for when I do officially. I think I'll watch the movie first
yes.
before I find a slime tutorial. Hmm.
I like that for you. I will say the movie and the stage version are very different. And as a dancer, I think
Oh,
you'll like the movie because there's so much great choreography in the movie, and
ooh, okay.
obviously the stage choreography is iconic because it's Bob Fosse, but
Mm, very
there's not
chill,
as much
Fosse.
yeah, it's not as much spectacle. Like the movie,
Yeah.
it's like you can move, you have different scenes, whereas the stage is like the orchestra, and then the dancers and the actors are just right in front in all black. And
Hmm.
listen, that is great, but the movie's just like pop, pop, pop in your face.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely my style for sure. I'm curious. Have you
Yeah,
seen the current one? Like, do you think they added more jazz to it?
the one that's on Broadway right now.
Yeah. Hmm.
It took me. That was the last Broadway theater I saw a show in. I've officially seen a show in every Broadway theater, which was like a
Oh
running thing while I
wow.
was at Playbill.
To check them.
But
Yeah.
to check them, yeah, and because Chicago had been there for so long,
Mm,
I hadn't seen it because anytime I would see a show, it'd be for coverage, right? So it'd be like the new shows coming into theaters.
mm,
Anyway, so I had never seen Chicago, so I saw it its first opening night after the pandemic, and
mm,
it was great. No, it was great.
mm.
It's the same one that's been running since 1996, I
Oh, so they
believe.
never refreshed it.
So they did not refresh it. No.
Oh.
But it's I guess it's there as a classic, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mm,
it's like, okay, you'll see the Fosse moves, you'll get some great singing of the iconic score. And I think that's
mm.
probably why it's so minimalistic. I don't know why they made those choices in 1996, but that's my guess.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually think, sorry, I'm getting too history nerd on everyone, but I think
No, you're good.
because
I
it
love it.
was okay,
Because
okay.
I'm like, I don't know these things. Drop the names and numbers.
Well, because I'm pretty sure that it started out as a revival at New York City Center, and New York City Center is like, I
Mm.
guess it's considered an off-Broadway theater, but
Yeah,
it's
it
a
can be. Yeah,
theatrical
sometimes.
institution. Yeah.
Mm.
And much like Parade just came to Broadway a few years ago, and Into the Woods came to Broadway after their run at New York City Center, I believe Chicago
Yeah.
is the same way. So they usually do minimalistic staging at New York City Center, so maybe that's why
Mm.
Chicago's that way, but it is great.
Gotcha.
But the movie holds a special place for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I could see that. No, I love a good 5, 6, 7, 8. So that I'm glad you told me
Yes,
that.
yes, it is very that. I think you'll enjoy the movie.
I'm
Um,
excited.
as for my second,
Yes. Wait, why are you nervous? I'm nervous that
no, because I'm like, this feels like such a choice to highlight one. I'm like, which one do I want to highlight? Um,
Mm,
but I'll say Fiddler on the Roof just because I want to. I literally have no
okay.
specific reason, but that has sentimental value because I was in it in 5th grade.
Okay.
As
She's
a
a
little
star.
child. Yeah, they hired, well, I didn't get paid. They like
Well, no,
asked
it's okay.
young
It's okay.
they asked young kids to be in the production. So I was like, I don't know Fiddler on the Roof at all. And so my mom and I
Mhm.
rented the VHS, and I was like, okay, okay, okay. And this was probably right after Chicago. So I was like, musical theater is
Okay.
it.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it just I think this, talk about a story. It's very similar to Sound of Music. I mean, there's like real historical, not characters, but like
Yeah.
discussions there. Um,
I'm
yeah,
curious to know, like, as someone who hasn't listened to Fiddler, because, like I said, I'm not very. I always try to figure out how to like try traditional sounding like Broadway. Like for someone going in, what would be like your go to song? Like if you're recommending Fiddler, are you saying listen top to bottom, or are you saying jump in just to warm a person up into it? Because I know we're
I
talking
think
no
I have
skip, but to really like go in, you know?
I think you listen top to bottom
Okay.
because it truly is no skip, and I'll pull it up to see if I confirm that, but, like,
Hmm.
let's see, Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I
it
guess I ask because I think of like for me, what got me Great Comet never touched it. But when I finally I listened to it, I was like, wait, this opener, I'm in. Like I'm caught. Is does the opener catch you? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does. It's called Tradition,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's one of my favorite opening numbers on Broadway or, in the musical theater canon.
Mhm,
Ragtime is another one that's very good. The prologue is so good. Uh, so I would say Ragtime's prologue, Fiddler on the Roost Tradition, and then In the Heights, I
and
guess,
this is
opening
good.
title number, how
Yeah.
they introduced all the characters you're about to experience. All
Mhm,
3 of those are the same in that way, and I love that. So Fiddler's, like, explaining how their village works and kind of the introducing the status quo because it's about to change, right? So
mhm.
it's like, here, this is the way we always do things. These are our traditions, and you're like, oh, okay, like I'm on board. And then all of a sudden things start to change, and you're like, oh my gosh, this must be so jarring for all the people experiencing this because
Yeah.
we just learned what their traditions are. So yeah, I say start at the top, but I'm looking at the Spotify list right now for the movie soundtrack, and Matchmaker is like iconic to me. I used to perform it for my friend, who also loved Fiddler on the Roof. We would just, like, sing it together. If I Were a Rich Man, I feel like is a huge that's, like, everyone knows that one, even if they don't know the musical. That's
Gwen
3rd.
Stefani for me, so that makes sense.
Oh, right, but see, when I was at Playbill, I was in charge of the Spotify playlists with the features editor, and so we would curate different playlists for different moods, which is why I feel like I often know songs from albums, but maybe not the whole album because it would be like, here are all the songs to play for Mother's Day because they talk about moms or whatever. So I put one together that was called Broadway Remixed, and it was all of the, like, pop songs that would incorporate, because Jay-Z loves to incorporate musical theater into his songs, but
Mhm.
that one too, Gwen Stefani with If I Were a Rich Man slash For Her Girl, like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that shows the power and the impact of
Musical
musical
theater.
theater to me."
Mhm.
Um,
I think of
so
Seven Rings by Ariana Grande.
yes,
That's
yes,
another one too.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Mm.
Um, so anyway, I mean, Fiddler has a lot. The other 2 tracks I would shout out are To Life and Tevia's Dream. Now Tevia's Dream, oh, and
Mm.
The Wedding's so good too. But see, the Tevia's Dream and The Wedding, there's a bottle dance in the wedding scene that has to be seen. If you know it already, listening to it's great, but
Mm.
watch the movie because there's some theatrics that are very fun to
Ooh,
enjoy.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mark that in. See, I'm glad this is why I like to know other people's opinions because I know I'm very like current. So I was like, okay, let me know what to throw back to and listen to and watch. And that's
Yes.
what ended up actually getting me to watch The Sound of Music. Someone had recommended it to me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna listen, I'm gonna watch, I'm gonna give my thoughts. So I'll definitely do the same on those
Yeah.
because I got to get in here. But this is where you're gonna know how current I am because I'm about to drop mine.
Say it. Let's
And
do
it's
it.
very, very current. Um, and no, I'm not even gonna give any prefaces. I'm just gonna go in. So one, the least current one on my list, The Wiz. That's the oldest
Yes.
musical.
Okay.
That's my first musical, my first experience. So there's sentimental value to it, but also like they're literally for me, it's like no skip. Like let's go, we're
Okay.
in.
Right, right. You're
Um,
locked in.
Seriously, like they're so fun. Even if it's like not really like a lot of singing, like the beats are good. Like Quincy did his thing when he put
He
that together.
did. He did. That's true.
Um,
That's a good one.
yeah, seriously. A lot of people would disagree, but
Oh,
one of them for me is Waitress. And for me, Waitress, I just like, I know the storyline's a bit shaky, but yeah. I wanna know your thoughts on that one,
I just
so
want to
those so
ask,
far.
do you not skip You Will Still Be Mine?
I don't.
Okay, and look, shout
I
out to Nick
don't.
Cordero, rest in peace. But like
Oh,
that one, I just was
yeah.
always like, that one was hard for me to get through.
Validly so, because it's creepy. Like, but what I couldn't stand Sarah for was, I was like, it's catchy, but it's so sad. Um, but no, I it's one of those musicals for me. It's not as back to back as, like, some of the ones we talked about. But for me, it helped. What she did well was, you can still listen to that album and understand what's happening in the story, even though there's a lot of dialogue that happens between the songs.
That's a great point.
Yeah, so I think for me, it's like I like listening to it to just get the full picture again, and I can, like, have a visualization. I've watched Waitress on tour before, and I also actually watched on the West End. I always forget that.
Oh,
And
cool.
so, like, I have that visual, and it's just always, like,
Yeah,
nice to go back to. I do need to watch the recorded version, because they have the official recorded version now available, which is also
right.
cool.
And it's a good album. I love Opening Up. I mean, there's a
Mhm.
lot of bangers on there. Sarah did do her thing.
No, yeah, they are good. I like them, and Jessie Mueller, phew,
Mm.
yeah, I love the way she
Mhm.
did, oh my gosh, I can't think of it now. She used to be mine. There we go. I was
Oh
like, I
yeah, yeah, the Greek
can't.
ballet. Yeah.
Yeah. The next one's on there, we talked about a little bit, like you said earlier, Once on This Island, hands down.
Yes.
Listen, I was a Gleek, so I was out here watching Glee Project and stuff.
Oh, love that.
So I know, right? So when I found out Alex Noel was up on Broadway, I was like, bet. Was I gonna be able to see it? No. But I ended up, getting into the Spotify's and getting into the slime tutorials and things like that in college, and being able to see it that way and experience it that way. And I was just like, this is a wonderful, wonderful, like, musical, like, in totality. Now, I will
Yeah,
say this, I would just listen to it a lot. You're not gonna get the full story without the visuals.
fair.
You do get lost in the sauce, because I'll never forget when I first watched it, I said, "Oh," and I'm trying not to spoil anything. I said, "What? This was happening the whole time?"
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
I will say
okay.
that, but sound-wise, we're going sound-wise without needing to necessarily know all of the story. I say that one. I really enjoyed it.
I love Waiting for Life,
So
and
good.
I love Mama Will Provide. Those
Yes.
2, and see, I usually go and I'm like, I wanna listen to those 2, like, specific the whole
Mm,
album's good,
yeah,
but those 2 just I don't know, there's something about them.
I
I
get it.
love those 2.
Can I add some in and know your thoughts on? Because I
Yes.
also have some go-tos when I just wanna pick and, pull from musicals. I
Mm,
really love Ti Moon, like, the one that her dad and mother sang to her. That one was
yeah,
so, like, gorgeous, like,
it is
really beautiful.
beautiful. Yeah, I
And I'm a
support that.
you see, okay, so we're here. And then,
Yeah.
um, I also like Forever Yours when,
Oh,
yeah, I don't know, something I really like it. I'm a rom-com girly as well, even though, spoiler alert, I have to say it, he did her dirty. He did her dirty.
he does her so
Um,
dirty.
but I loved listening to it, and then when, my girl, oh my gosh, Merle comes
Uh-huh.
in, Merle
Yep,
Dandridge, yeah,
yep.
yeah, they ate those.
That that's it's I mean, all the songs are good, so I'm like, "That is a good song."
Mhm.
I typically don't think about it when I'm
Valid,
wanting to
that's
go
fair
listen
though.
to it, but
Mhm.
I support you.
Yes.
I
I
I
can
get why
understand that
you
though.
like it, you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Ugh,
Um, and I'm also throughout these last few,
yes.
Hadestown and Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice!
Mhm, mhm. It's
You know what?
underrated because
It
you the thing is, it was on long enough to know that there was an audience for it, right? So we know that
Uh-huh.
people loved Beetlejuice. But for some reason when it comes into conversations about it, people aren't dropping Beetlejuice like that. But we know Beetlejuice is loved.
It was,
So good.
and I'm looking at the list, and honestly, I guess it wouldn't be a no skip because 'cause I'm like, they all fit together. So it's like, you know what I mean? Listening to it, I'd
Mhm.
be like, "Oh, none of them seem like they need to be skipped." So,
I
look
listen,
at
I'm
you.
telling you.
Yeah.
That one's a good choice because let me open it just to double check as well. There is nothing, and I even love all of her belt songs, Sophia and Caruso. Dead Mom
Uh-huh.
and Home, delightful. Um, even like so some people might skip Girl Scout, but I think Girl Scout's just a fun little goofy song.
It's fun,
So
goofy
I can't
song.
even be mad at
Yes.
it.
No, I agree. Um, I don't typically, I guess, choose to listen to that, but Halloween time, that feels like an appropriate time.
Mhm.
And a fun fact that I always loved about it, was how during their season they opened on Broadway, they would always change the lyrics, to the opening song. Do you
Yes.
remember that? Like, it'd be the
Mhm.
Today Show, and it was different. The Tony Awards
The
performance was
Tonys was different.
different. It
Mhm.
was I was like, and, shout out to the writers, and shout out to Alex for
Yes.
remembering that.
Right.
I was
Exactly.
like, "Y'all."
Mhm.
So yeah, 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 I like that. I would have never thought of saying that, but that is a good one.
No, yeah. I would even wanna give a shout out random, like, when they did the Thanksgiving Day Parade. That
Yes,
was
that
a
too.
solid one.
Yes. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes,
And I just
definitely.
remember I was like, "No, they're in, like, they're serious." And I remember when they left, when COVID happened, like, it was done, and then they came back, and I was like, "Yes." Like, that's how we know, like, we're here.
Mhm.
No, I'm a Beetlejuice fan. I've seen it 3 times, not to
Okay.
have a pun of
I'm like very
Beetlejuice.
on brand for the
Yes.
show.
But was one thing I also really loved about what they did, not only did they love changing their lyrics, but they loved changing their playbills. So, I've been
It
3 times, I none of my playbills are the same.
I love that. That's
Mhm.
great. Yeah, that
Yeah,
is
and
super cool.
no, it is. They had a special Halloween one. So like I have a playbill. I think it's like Beetlejuice but Pumpkinhead or something like that. There's a pumpkin somewhere on the playbill. So
Yeah,
no, that's a whole that could be a whole different podcast of all the shows we've seen. That'd be exciting.
absolutely. That would be like a series.
No, seriously.
Um, and what was the other one you said?
Hades Town, another one I've
Hadestown.
seen. I've seen twice. No, no, I think I've also seen one, two. Have I also seen Hades Town 3 times?
That'd be cool.
Maybe. I was trying to see Jordan Fisher, but the day I went, he was not there. Oh my gosh, I don't remember Chinobe. I don't remember. I
The
can't remember
understood.
his exact name of the understudy at the time. He's in a different show now.
Oh, okay.
But he was there and he was wonderful as well. But I've seen no, it has been 3 times because I've seen Eva and Reese. Reese?
Reeve.
Reeve, thank you. I've seen
Yeah.
Eva and Reeve twice, and I
Oh, okay.
saw, Understudies, from the other time. So, yeah, wow, look at that. But I
Oh,
must know,
that
what are your thoughts?
that is I that to me, it's a great album.
Mhm,
I love the music, I love the, like, New Orleans vibe, the orchestrations.
mhm.
I go through periods of being addicted to Living It Up on Top.
Okay,
Like I have a personality, again, don't know what this says about me, but I will, like, listen to a song on repeat. So, there'll be
that's
nights where I'm
fair.
taking a shower and I'm like, "You know what? I need Amber Gray to sing Living It Up on Top, and I need Andre de Shields to have his, like, funny, sassy interjections
Mhm.
while I get ready for bed." So, I love the album. I'm trying to think if I guess I pull it up, if there's a song I would skip because
That was
t
gonna be
it
my question, yeah, because
to
I have some up, and I'm
oh,
curious, I guess I wonder if you would skip those.
but see, it seems like a great comment that it's like, you just listen through it all the way through for the story, the vibes, you know what I mean? It feels
Mhm.
disruptive otherwise.
Yeah, and I think that's what that because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, maybe that's what gets us is like, that kind of idea because that's definitely a musical that is like the story is within the music, like top to
Yeah.
bottom. Um, maybe I don't know because like you said, like it's part of the story. Maybe Hey Little Songbird because once again back to like creepy sounding songs. Um, what else? Maybe like
You know what it more is, I think for me,
mhm,
is that I was just looking at the time, it's 2 hours and 2 minutes, and I think I don't get make it
mm,
all the way through.
the length.
The
Okay.
length. Like, I'll be like, "Yes, Hadestown, blah, 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 blah," and then it's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I have to go," or the phone rings, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense
I'm
because
you know?
it is so top to bottom. You're basically getting the whole musical.
Yeah.
So you don't even get to doubt comes in. By the time you kinda tap out at a
And
certain point. Got you. Wait for
I
Me
would
reprise?
say ooh.
I'm like,
I
I'm
do
looking at
like
the
I
ones at the
do
bottom.
yeah, I do like Wait for Me reprise, but Imma be honest, it's usually, like, Our Lady of the Underground. I'm like, because I love Persephone, so
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like I
fair.
hear that and I'm like,
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
know.
I mean, you're, like, halfway. I think you get more than halfway, maybe halfway. Yeah, a little bit
I think
more.
that opens act 2, so it's, like, just the
Just
2nd
y
half,
yeah.
and then my attention goes somewhere else.
And then you're like, "Okay, bet. I'm gonna just assume that everybody's okay at the end." He doesn't turn around, those kinda things like
Oh my
that.
god, every time I get so mad, every time I expect something different. "Orpheus, what we doing?"
No, seriously, and it's funny because we know exactly what's gonna happen, but I feel like every time I've went and seen the show, there's always someone who goes, like, "Why would you
Yeah.
do that?"
Yes, no,
Um,
truly.
but yeah, no, never forgiven at all. But I will say that's a show that has a bit of longevity that I mean, in current times. We'll see how long it keeps going. But what I do really love about it is how every performer gives a different energy to their character with that one.
Mm.
Like truly right now, oh my gosh, I'm so terrible with names. My girl from Once on This Island, she plays
Yeah, Haley Kilgore.
yeah, thank you. I was like, I have her name. But yeah, Haley plays Eurydice right now with Carlos. I don't know his
Mhm.
last name, who plays Orpheus. And so I get so intrigued of how they have their interpretations of their characters. Jordan, seeing clips online, he had a different interpretation of Orpheus than, and I know that's usually the case scenario with like shows in general, but I feel like that, I don't know, something about these characters that make it so distinctive that
Mhm.
is just really cool. But yeah.
I agree. I, um I have seen it 3 times as well,
Nice.
and I did get to see Haley and Carlos recently, and I
Exciting.
love Haley. I just love her. I
Yeah,
mean, she's amazing,
she
and
is.
it was interesting. I didn't necessarily compare her to Eva in my mind, but what I
Mm.
did was compare her to herself as T Moon. Like,
Ooh,
she's so much more
okay.
grown up now. Because think that was
Yeah.
2018,
She
Once
was
on This Island.
baby.
She was baby, and now she's,
Mhm.
like, a little grown, like, she's been through
Right.
stuff. I mean, presumably, we all have,
Yeah.
and so that, I think, helped translate Eurydice in
Mhm,
that way, and if you think about it, especially since you know the musicals very well, like, Ti Moon and Eurydice, I think, have a lot in common,
mhm.
and they ha all hang out with these boys who are hot messes, and, like, you know what I'm saying? Go on these adventures,
That's true.
like
And they get done dirty. They
mhm.
do. Yep,
So
that's
I was
very
like,
true.
"Haley, you deserve more in your
Right.
next musical theater role than these boys."
Right.
But no, I think it is such a great it's interesting because the characters are so distinct, but they also are such canvases for each actor to leave their own mark.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
agree with that.
seriously. I gotta see her. I gotta see her.
Yes.
Um, well, you know what? I feel like the final answer to this is I don't think we can define 100% what the official no skip musical it is. Um, in regards to especially, it seems very much like everyone has their own different sounds, their own different choices. We talked about like sentimental value. Um, we see how our lists were completely different.
Yeah.
We see how TikTok gave literally, like I said, like every show they could think of. They even brought Star Kid into the mix. I don't know if you've ever listened to any Star Kid
Oh.
musicals.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, so it's just very interesting. But I loved having this like in-depth conversation
Me
with
too.
you, and thank you so much for coming on. Also wanted to randomly note, because of this, listeners, Felicia got to listen to and watch Princess and the Frog for the first time.
That
But
was
so before we
Sound of
go, I
Music.
was gonna wrap up real quick. Before we go though, I must know your quick thoughts on watching Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, I'm so embarrassed. It's not a fact that I share a lot, but since you had brought it up, I was like, I have to tell you and be honest. I have no idea. It's so perfect for me. It's like a
Mhm.
Black Disney princess. I love that. I just
Yeah.
I was in late high school, so I don't know. I don't know why I never saw it, and I
Wrong
don't why I
timing, yeah. So
but
it at a certain point, it feels a little too late, so it's kinda hard to go back. Yeah, I
yeah,
get you.
and I just never prioritized seeing it, but,
Mhm.
I was so glad to because it is so
Eh.
good, and it just it felt like it's a part of that Disney Renaissance collection, like,
Mhm.
I mean, I guess Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin, those are like the Disney Renaissance, but Hercules in '95 too, like, I love, so it just felt
Mhm.
a part of that whole world.
Yeah.
Um, so and I will say the songs I had heard before, I don't know if it was, like, on someone else's playlist or Spotify, when they do shuffle, but, like, Dig a
Mhm.
Little Deeper, I definitely heard before,
Oh, 100%.
and, of
TikTok
course,
maybe
Almost
too.
There. Yeah, maybe
Mhm.
TikTok. So it was nice to, I guess, contextualize the songs,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Ray dying at the end fucked me up.
Listen, my Belle Evangeline, never the same. Never the same.
I know, it was so emotional.
Mhm.
I didn't know she spent the whole movie as a frog.
That is a problem we talk about,
I
yes,
was like,
especially because
"Oh."
she was supposed to get her own TV show this year and Disney dropped it.
Right. What's
So
that about?
right, right, because we know the show was almost done if it was supposed to come out this year. Because we were really
Yeah.
excited for us to finally get, like, Tiana not having to be a frog the whole movie,
Yeah.
and yeah, like, Tiana on adventures and stuff, but mhm.
Because I feel like it's so interesting, like, I know her iconic green dress, and then the blue dress, I feel like, is what the marketing always is, and then that was the blue dress was in the
Mm,
first, like, 10 minutes, I felt like,
mhm.
and then she was a frog, I was like, "But when does the green dress come?" It wasn't until the end,
Not
well,
until
no
the end.
spoilers of what happens,
I
but, like,
Go
50 years
watch Princess and
later.
the Frog, yeah.
Yeah, but thank you for encouraging me to watch it because I loved it.
Yes, of course. I'm glad you got to watch it. And maybe you'll listen to it throughout the time. It's one of my faves. So it's very much up there with like
Yes.
Cinderella, Brandy, and Whitney. Like, yes, 100%.
See, and that one, listen, producers or the owners of Whitney's estate, please put that shit on Spotify,
We need to
okay?
listen to it.
If
Yes.
on we need it, like, we need it now
Hmm.
more than ever.
Seriously. I need to hear In the Arms of My Love. Flying. I just need to hear
It's
that. Her and
it is on
Paolo.
yeah, oh, I know. Oh,
Hmm.
like,
Right?
it's so good. I need to go watch it right now. It is on Disney
Seriously.
Plus, so I'm
I
like,
have
"Let
the
me just go
DVD
to
as
myself."
well. So
Come on,
yeah.
DVD.
Mhm. I'm
OG.
yes, I was like, I need to start a DVD collection. I was like, which one do I need to make sure I have on lock?
Yeah. No, it's
Cinderella.
true. My mom and I do that, like, she has 2 bookshelves of Disney VHSs
Oh
and
wow, she
like,
kept her
DVDs of
VHS. I
whatever.
love that.
Yeah, because of this reason, she's always like, "It's never streaming," and so if she wants
Mhm.
to watch something, she's like, "I wanna watch it," and I, like,
Period.
I'm like her daughter, obviously, so I support her, but I'm like, "Yes, you made me in your image because 'cause I'm the same way."
Yeah. No, so
Mhm.
I wish we would have kept all of our like VHS like sets and like our VHS player because there's so much stuff that got like lost in the sauce from then on. So no, she was smart. She was
Yeah.
smart to keep it because
She was
it's
thinking.
it went away.
Yeah.
um Once again, thank you again, Felicia. I much, 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 much appreciate it. Listeners, make sure you check out Felicia at Felicia Nicole 86. I'll drop the at in the description of this episode as well. See what she's doing next because she is busy. Okay. And then make sure you check me out at Kayvana on Instagram, at the Introvert Social Hour on TikTok and YouTube. Make sure you're also following this podcast wherever you're listening right now to stay on track of when episodes are coming out and what things, possibly bonuses, are coming up in the future. Let us know, what is your non-skip musical? What are your thoughts about what we brought up in the podcast today? We'd love to know. Share with your friends, family members, etc., etc. At the end of the day, have a good day, get some sunshine, get some air, and I will see you next week on the Introvert Social Hour. Bye.